So the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus has been announced, with a clear spec upgrade over the 3, but is it really enough to justify a whole new device? Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome to Retro Breeze. The Retroid Pocket 3 Plus announcement comes very close to the official Retroid Pocket 3 release, like a couple of months later, which has left a few community members baffled by the sudden introduction of a more powerful device. But I have some thoughts about this, because to me the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, whereas it's a clear upgrade over the Retroid Pocket 3 and 2 Plus specs, is it really justifiable to release an entirely new device if it doesn't necessarily support that much more than the previous one? Let's talk about the specs first. So the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus comes with a Unisoc T618 processor, a Mali G52 GPU, 128 gigs of storage, 4 gigs of RAM, and a 4500 mAh battery. It will come with the exact same shell, button layout, and everything as the 3, including the controversial start and select on the top, which I don't actually mind that much. There will also be two new colorways, a transparent blue and purple. The price of the 3 Plus will be $149 before shipping and taxes, with an upgrade kit for the Retroid Pocket 3 owners available at $85. Apparently there's going to be some kind of discount for Retroid Pocket 3 owners as well. First of all, I want to talk about the big elephant in the room, which is that I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed that quite literally 2 months or so since the Retroid Pocket 3 was announced and released, this new device is already coming to market. I think that for those people that don't own a Retroid Pocket 3 or skipped it for whatever reason, this is a really lovely spec sheet for the price. The Retroid Pocket 3 Plus at this price is extremely competitive with its only real matchup, the Playability X18S, even with the new X18S Ultra. However, this release actually highlights some thoughts that kind of reflect this industry as a whole, and that is, what is the effective difference between the Retroid Pocket 3 and Retroid Pocket 3 Plus? Obviously, the T618 is more powerful, according to benchmarks around 35% more powerful than the old T310, which the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus and Retroid Pocket 3 had. But exactly what does that mean for gaming? The Retroid Pocket 2 Plus and the 3 already play pretty much everything up to Dreamcast and PSP pretty well. I would call all of those systems and those before, including the Sega Saturn, perfectly playable. But if we look at the Playability X18S as an example, since it has the same specs more or less as the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, you'll see that while it can play something like GameCube better than the T310, I would argue that it's really not that much of an upgrade when you think about effective playability. So what actually constitutes playable? On the Playability X18S, Wind Waker would get around about 20 frames per second in general, as does something like Resident Evil 4. Now lighter games like Mario Kart Double Dash, Sonic Riders, and Simpsons Hit and Run might reach around 60 frames a second fairly stable. So whereas you get better GameCube, is this enough to justify an entirely new device considering it doesn't play GameCube entirely playably? And what I mean by that is, if you think about going from one generation of a device to the next, what are the expectations for that upgrade? Because to me, it's not just about marginally better performance. So if I have a game that should run at 60, and on the old device it runs at 20, and on the new device it runs at 40, that still hasn't reached that 60 frames a second threshold, so it's not perfectly playable. It might be better than the old one, but how much better should we expect for an entirely new device? Maybe this is just me, but I kind of feel like a new device should improve the effective playability of something by a big amount. Because now that I'm thinking about the Retroid Pocket 3 versus the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, and I'm trying to play GameCube, if both of them are kind of slow and laggy, even if one is a little bit less slow and laggy than the other, they're still both in the same kind of arena of generally unplayable GameCube and PS2. Speaking of PS2, this is still going to remain almost entirely out of reach for the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. Heavy hitters like God of War, Burnout, later Dirge of Cerberus stages are going to be completely unplayable. That's just the fact. It's just not going to work. So again, this is another thing where we have a whole new device here, but even this whole new device isn't going to be able to reach what is generally necessary that the previous device was missing, right? Because the Retroid Pocket 3 can't play PS2 at all. The Retroid Pocket 3 Plus isn't going to either. So in that terms of effective playability, which I keep mentioning here, you're really not actually getting an upgrade at all. All you're getting is higher frames a second but still broken game and laggy experience. So I don't want to drag this video out too long, This is really just a quick first impressions. The Retroid Pocket 3 Plus is definitely an upgrade in power from the 3, but when it comes to the actual real-life experience and playability of the next generation of systems that the Retroid Pocket 3 itself couldn't reach, is it realistically much of an upgrade? I'm assuming that whereas GameCube will have more playable games on the 3 Plus than the 3, many of them are still going to be slow and a less than ideal experience. PS2, in my opinion, according to the X18S, is still going to be completely out of reach for the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. So it really begs the question, what exactly is the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus bringing to the table other than slightly better but still not quite great GameCube and PS2 gameplay? Everything before that is going to play better. I'm guessing that PSP will handle more upscaling and stuff like that. But realistically here, I'm really trying to think really realistically, what is the effective difference between the 3 and the 3 Plus going to be? And I just can't quite seem to reach this place where I think it's going to be a real great upgrade. And then that also introduces that question I originally asked. Why create an entirely new device mere months after the previous device was released, if it doesn't actually jump the performance to support the next generation reasonably well? Personally, I really think that the D900 from the Odin Lite would have been a really great bar for a 3 Plus upgrade to hit. When you compare the difference between the Retroid Pocket 2 and the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, that was a massive upgrade in performance. We're talking like 4 times better performance. But realistically, between the 3 and the 3 Plus, we're looking at like maybe 30% benchmark better performance. But in realistic gameplay, it's really, in my opinion, not going to change the device all that much, and its capabilities all that much. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus is going to be a great device. It has great specifications and an amazing price tag, especially when you compare it to basically any other competitor at this price point and spec sheet. But with the Retroid Pocket 3 releasing just mere months ago, and with the complete lack of any kind of generational jump in performance in terms of emulation systems, what is realistically the point of the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus? I think that if you didn't buy a Retroid Pocket 3 and you waited it out, it would be fine to get the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. If you bought the 3, I don't think you're going to get, realistically, sorry, I keep saying the same words because it really kind of encompasses what I feel. Realistically, any jump in performance is not really going to make anything more or less playable other than maybe a handful of GameCube games. So that's pretty much my thoughts. I don't mean to bully Retroid. I love the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, and I love my Retroid Pocket 3 even more than that. I've even forgiven them for the whole white debacle at this point, whatever. The device stands on its own regardless. But with this 3 Plus release, I think it's a bit of a kick in the teeth for anybody that bought the Retroid Pocket 3. I think that's just the reality of it. Even with the availability of an upgrade kit, which I appreciate, it's still a bit of a kick in the teeth. And I also just cannot really understand why this device exists on top of the 3. I think that either they should have just skipped the 3 or made the 3 have the T610 or T618 in the first place, or we should have really not done this 3 Plus at all and it should have had a substantially better chip like a Dimensity 900 or something like that. Do you agree with that? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm not complaining here, I'm just engaging in a conversation and sharing my impressions. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this impressions video, also please let me know because I've done a couple of these before. The results are always kind of sketchy, because, obviously I'm always going to upset some people, or some people are going to agree. But I do enjoy doing them, I do enjoy sharing my perspective, so let me know if you like them in the comments. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel. I know I've been really slow at upgrading in the last few weeks, but that's because I actually caught a flu and it put me in bed and for a few days, and I've had a really slow recovery. So I'm feeling better now. More videos coming up. My F22 Pro video is almost ready for you guys who are waiting for it. Can't wait to share that with you. As well as my rebrand of the channel, things are going to start to look a lot cleaner and a lot nicer and a lot more professional. So I hope you're looking forward to it. Subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified when I upload new content. This has been Shem from Retro Breeze, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.